All right, we're now going to reconvene into special session. Discussion and possible action concerning items posted and discussed by council in executive session. I don't believe we have any actions to take out of executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn special session?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're going to roll in and call to order the workshop session. Just real quick, for those of you that are currently 6 feet apart, plan to stay that way, wish to remove your mask as long as you stay where you're at, you may do so at this time. I'm going to do so because I had complaints that they couldn't hear us, that we sounded muffled on the microphones. So. The first item on our workshop session this evening is discussion updates regarding the fiscal year 2021 budget.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. After the August 3rd workshop, staff prepared the attached memo that would incorporate most of the priorities we discussed at that time. It is always subject to your additional input. A couple of things that I do want to point out in terms of inclusions and exclusions, but it does lack at this point skate park. It lacks engineering to assess interceptor capacity, and that's basically just a staff exclusion. I feel like we've got a number of engineering studies on the table right now that will result in some additional capital needs, but that is certainly a project that still remains on our CIP list under the planning category. Council will have the opportunity to take another look at this on the 24th or earlier if you wanted to have a special called meeting. You'll have at least, according to the agenda tonight, the opportunity for a tax rate hearing on September 8th, and first reading of the budget is scheduled for September 14. I do want to talk just briefly about one of the other items that's not included, which was the discussion we had from several departments on new hires, some additional human resources. We've not included those in your budget. It's something council may want to consider. The part-time person that Yvonne was looking at was about $18,000 a year. That's a burden position or burden expense. The other thing that I've suggested to staff and suggested to Yvonne is certainly we know that we'll have some change at City Hall at the end of the year with Christina's departure, so maybe that gives us the opportunity to look at positions as well at that time.
Finley, real quick, on the position you just stated with the 18,000, is that the one that we were going to split between the fire department and?
No, that is just the one that was identified through, and we still, like I said, we have other departments that have voiced their needs for some additional human resources, but the other question that we also had is, when it comes to our ability to compensate our current staff, do we hire more people and then reduce our ability to bring some of our other staff up to market and provide compensation increases. So that's a balancing act that I think is tough, and I tend to lean on let's hold tight and probably to a fault at times. I want to make just a couple of quick references to the memo that was included in your packet. It does include modifications, income from fund balance, as well as expense related to a Vector truck, a sweeper, the completion of, I would say, 95% of our water meters. That project includes some money for retaining wall repair, and it does include some earmarked money for future purchase of a fire department apparatus. And we just want to make sure that council is aware that this is an expense that will have to be matched in probably the next budget year or the budget year after that. $400,000 won't quite do it when you're talking about a new apparatus. Some things that are already in the budget, just as a reminder, the public safety communications, building improvements to the PD, bathroom upgrades at the electric and street shop, Cardinal CAD system, cemetery pole barn. I'm not going to go into the detail of how these are listed here, but basically we've used not only fund balance, but we've used balance from fund balance in Department 82, water, wastewater. We will utilize some of 68, Fund 68 for these purchases. And what else have we used? And we've used some transfer from electric. So we've taken a number of different accounts and utilize those funds to meet those priorities. You will need to take, if you so choose, you will need to take formal action to designate an account for the fire department apparatus and equipment so that that stays on the balance sheet as such. We also, as we maintain that surplus, and staff will continue to work on the budget in their particular departments, but it is our assumption, and we think this is what we've heard from council, is that we would use that to provide increases in the burden compensation and adjustments based on additional duties and market conditions. We will also utilize, again, we kind of knock this down a little bit, but we'll use some of Fund 40 to support renovation of historic and tourism assets for the Hostess House and the Colored School. And we've certainly heard what you had to say about the Colored School, at least at this time, and hold off on the bathrooms, but certainly we feel like that would provide us the resources to complete the school itself. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. You do have, if you wanted to specify or formalize a modification, you do have an action item on the regular agenda. Certainly, we've been working based on your consensus, and I think that's worked just fine as well, Council.
Did council want to offer any directive to staff in any aspect of the budget, what we just discussed, or what we've previously discussed?
Was there a specific amount? I don't believe we designated a specific amount for the completion of the Colored School, and that would have just been the ceiling and the flooring. Is that correct?
Correct, and I would include in that some flat work on
Okay.
the sidewalk, the entrance sidewalk, et cetera. So there may be, so those are unspecified projects, meaning that, in fact, you'll have an item on the regular agenda that talks about bringing Byron Hendricks here into town to take a look at the Hostess House. So they're somewhat arbitrary budget numbers for unspecified projects, but the number I've kind of thrown around in my head is if you did something related to plumbing, electric, mechanical upgrades to the Hostess House, you took a look at accessibility, maybe if you wanted to decide to put a hood system in the kitchen. I just said 300,000 there. Let's put a 50,000 kind of earmarked towards the Hostess House. But again, Council, I just want to make sure you understand.
50,000 towards the Colored School.
50, yes.
To the Colored School.
Yes.
Okay.
But again, I just want to make sure Council understands that these are unspecified numbers at this point.
Also, the skate park as an unspecified number. We're looking at funding options for different ways to use as an attraction. Is that correct?
Yes, we can certainly do that if Council would like me to go ahead and continue that work.
Yes.
Please do. Any additional directive from council?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Discussion and updates related to COVID-19.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here are the latest updates across the state and also here locally. As of yesterday afternoon, they have 486,362 confirmed cases in the state. We have 8,459 fatalities. Statewide, the hospitalization rate is actually down to 7,937. This is down from 8,610 from the last time that we met. Last week, they opened a temporary hospital that was set up in the McAllen Convention Center. A similar facility is expected to open in Harlingen this week. The Rio Grande Valley has been tremendously hit. When you look at Hidalgo, Webb, Nueces, and Cameron counties, they account for nearly 23,000 active cases across the state. This is about 17.25% of all Texas cases. If you look at the top 10 counties of active cases throughout the state, this is going to account for 67% of all the active cases. Here at home in Lampasas County, last update I received on that was Friday.
I can offer one as of 5 minutes ago, if you'd like that.
My phone's on silent.
I was waiting for Dr. Hay to send that in. Our current numbers from Dr. Hay were 214 cases, 39 active, 170 recovered, 5 fatalities, and 1 hospitalized, non-ventilated.
Okay. We will actually have a drive-through testing center here on August 22nd. I've been working with Angela Rainwater at the county, working with the state. It's not actually put on by the state, but it's still coordinated through them. This will take place at the Lampasas Fire Department. We will be able to publicize probably the week of, but you're not allowed to register until 48 hours prior to the event. They can test up to 200 people in that one day. Again, this is being coordinated through the state, but it's done by a private enterprise.
And the date of that again is?
August 22nd, the Saturday before the next time we meet.
Council have any questions for Chief?
One side note, positivity rate is at an all-time high today. We've talked a lot about positivity rate. It's at 20.99%, so nearly 21%. But the good news is hospitalizations are actually down, and we've been actually watching that go down for about a week now. So I think people are getting tested and getting confirmed as having been diagnosed, but they're not requiring any hospitalization. So.
Thank you, Chief. Item number 4, discussion regarding any item on the regular agenda. Does anyone wish to discuss anything that we're going to be discussing later on the agenda? Do I have a motion to adjourn workshop session?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Would council like a 10-minute break? Nobody cares? Okay, 5-minute break. Thank you.